His bedroom right here, when he was giving tours, this would have been the only place you could not have seen. It was completely off limits. It was his private space, and he didn't want people to be able to see that he was clearly a man of meager means. The jars in the corner there are the jars that he would have placed his perishable foods in before placing them in the refrigerated well I pointed out earlier. The board to the left of that, with hay sacks on it suspended by rope and chain, that's actually what he slept on every day. The only thing that would be different from that would be that the ropes would have been replaced by a crankshaft that would have allowed him to easily adjust the level of his bed. The poster in the back of Edward is interesting because it's an exact likeness of Edward. He was literally that big, or rather that small, and would have claimed that looking just like that, he could build this entire place on his own. To the left of Edward, there's a swinging chair with the armrest made from leaf springs and bike tires, and the seat itself is an old horse's harness. If you look in this back left corner, there's a kerosene stove on the shelf, but more interestingly above it, there's a screened-in box. That was the pantry where he stored most of his food, except that posed a problem because you'll notice there are holes in the sides, front and back of it, that were easy access for bugs to get inside and spoil his food by eating it. So he took that funnel that you'll notice suspended on the wire, filled it with kerosene. He somehow knew that kerosene had this very intense repellent effect, and no bug or pest could get anywhere near there. If they even tried to, they would die from overexposure to the fumes afterward. So, his own system of repellent. Nowadays, many bug sprays like off are modeled after that, so it's interesting. The shelf above me is not really significant on any functional level, other than it was a place where he could store his belongings. What you'll notice, though, is that it's very high up. I'm a foot taller than Edward, and I can't really reach it without having to really exert myself. He cemented these pipes into the wall to act like a step ladder. These are kind of just small things that we wouldn't normally think of, but they were very easy to come by to him. That was a step ladder. The last thing in this room doesn't look interesting on any level, but it's definitely the most interesting. That old rusty metal tripod pipe, that was the base for the crystal radio that I was describing to you downstairs. When Edward passed away, there was a series of owners who took over the property. And the third owner who took property, a family from Chicago, were the first people to come up to this room after assuming ownership and see where he lived. You remember I told you, no one can ever come up here. When they came up here, they found instructions leading them to a secret fortune. And the instructions essentially gathered that they come to this tripod base, take apart the radio at the top of it, and look at the bottom to find cylinders. When they found cylinders at the bottom, they opened them up and they started pulling out $100 bills. The money added up to around $3,500, which today is more like $3.5 million. You really have to wonder, though, how did he amass a small fortune when there was no income because he wasn't working. He was only building this castle for 20 years here in Florida, and he was only charging 10 cents admission for people to take a tour over an 11-year period. The math doesn't add up. Right here, 7129, and then below that, 6105195. We don't know what they mean or why they're even there. We do speculate that they're significant because he chose to repeat them. Here on the opposite post, a little bit lower. Yeah, they must have been important because he repeated them, but we don't really know why. There's a whole host of possibilities: bank account number, security deposit box, an address of some sorts. We've tried everything; they haven't really figured it out. We just often joke around that everyone comes in here and writes them down for lottery numbers. So go ahead and try your luck at that. But nevertheless, that's the end of the tour. No one's measured it.
Go down there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's alright. The bottom is rock or...
Sorry?
The bottom is rock or...
Yeah, it's coral rock. All the ground is coral rock, so down to the very bottom it's just going to be the same kind of rock.
It's amazing. I can't believe that somebody made that.